Okay, we're gonna start, and then a few people are gonna be trickling in um, as we keep moving forward. So first, I just want to introduce myself. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Hilal Bazi. I'm the co-president of the Arab Student Association at U of M. We're hosting this event mainly because there are a lot of Arab students and Arabs in Southeast Michigan, and we understand the importance of our vote. And we're a key electorate in winning the state of Michigan. Voting is extremely important. We've done a lot of get out the vote efforts on campus. We've done a lot of voter drives, voter initiatives, and we're trying our hardest to make sure that not only Ann Arbor, but all campuses and all students in Southeast Michigan get out and vote. Nuda, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Noura. I'm also co-president of Arab Student Association, and we're happy to have you all here. And thank you, Brian, for coming.
Thank you, Noura. Nice to be here.
Awesome. So if anyone doesn't know yet, obviously Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd. So we're just going to give a little bit of information about what you got to do to vote. So Michigan a few years ago passed a proposition that allows voters to vote up and to register to vote up until Election Day. So it's extremely important that if you haven't already registered, that you can go and register on Election Day at your local city clerk. You can print out your registration form online. You can just Google it and it'll come up, or you could fill it out at the clerk. And all you need is one of the following documents to register to vote: an ID, a bank statement, anything like that. Usually your driver's license is the most easiest way to register to vote. And you're allowed to vote on Election Day. Usually between the 9 to 5 hours that your clerk is open, you're allowed to register. So even if you haven't registered, head there this week, head there tomorrow, or this weekend, whenever your clerk is open, and make sure you can go vote. Okay. And what's on the ballot? So when you get your ballot on Tuesday, or if you vote early, which we all recommend you do when you vote early, there's going to be a few sections. There's going to be the partisan section, and the partisan section is where you're going to see a lot of the things like your senators, your president, your board of regents, the MSU trustee, and Brian will be in the partisan section, the MSU, and probably be the first name, and we'll show you. And then there's going to be the nonpartisan section. The nonpartisan section has all the judges, your school board races, and all that, those positions that don't really have any party affiliation. And then on the back, usually when you fill up your ballot, you're going to have some proposals on the ballot. One of which for a search warrant for using when you want to search your phone, and just some renewal of millages and taxes. So make sure that you don't skip over the nonpartisan proposal section, and make sure that you be very careful if you're going to vote straight ticket, and try not to vote during, like, don't vote in the partisan section if you're voting straight ticket, because we don't want to spoil your ballot. So make sure that you vote your partisan section, vote in the nonpartisan section, and then vote your proposals. And then here is a sample ballot. This is what your ballot is going to look like depending on where you're from. This is a ballot from Wayne County, which is many of your permanent residences. So if you see, again, there's a partisan section. And then you can see Brian's name is right there under the trustee of Michigan State University. He's the first one, and Brian's running as a Democrat. And then you could fill out all these roles until you get to the back of the ballot. And this is where there's the nonpartisan sections and the proposals. Okay. So that's basically some of the basics for Election Day activities. And now we're going to introduce Brian Musallam. Brian was born in Dearborn, Michigan. He is a graduate of Fordson High School, and he ended up attending MSU, where he earned a degree in engineering. He played on the MSU football team for 4 years, from 92 to 96, where he earned a ton of accomplishments and awards. Currently, he serves as a financial advisor. I know there's a lot of business students on the call. And he's a founding partner of Spartan Wealth Management. He does a lot of he does a lot of work in the community. He's very well respected, serving on various boards and chairs. And he lives in Dearborn with his wife Abir and his 2 kids. But Brian, do you want to give a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to my people. As Hilal said, my name is Brian Musallam, and I'm an incumbent trustee. Been on the board for 8 years. I own a wealth management firm. Go figure, called Spartan Wealth Management, where I've built my practice. Been in the business 25 years, And I ran for this position because I loved the university, and I owe everything to Michigan State. It put me on the map. Football put me on the map. It opened up every door for me. And, you know, for the most part, these roles were ceremonial in nature. Um, and you ran the school and you set general policy, and it was a lot of ribbon cutting and a lot of, you know, fun things to do. And then Larry Nasser hit. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would be wrapped up in the largest sex abuse scandal in the history of this country. And it, you know, it wasn't hard, but it was. I took a position that I was very critical of the university. I was the first to publicly apologize and meet with survivors. I held a town hall where 5,000 people showed up, and no other trustee had the courage to show up. I issued a plan of reform, you know, of which today many of my initiatives have been adopted. One of the main ones is that all Title IX reports now have to be read by the trustees. In fact, Michigan State's resolution with the Office of Civil Rights, you know, the Free Press and ESPN both noted that there were a lot of the proposals, a lot of the things that they agreed to do were recommendations that I made 2 years earlier. So, I mean, I'm endorsed by many organizations, but really the most personal thing to me is to be endorsed by survivors and their parents. If you would have told me January of 2018, when the world was calling for our resignation, that 2.5 years ago later, that I would be endorsed by survivors and their parents, I would have thought you couldn't script a movie like that. It's been a wild and crazy ride. And, you know, the hardest part wasn't making my public statements and tweeting and saying what I wanted to say. That was easy. The hard part was sitting in a room and looking at 7 trustees and 2 law firms and 3 PR firms and telling them that we're wrong. Our response to this is wrong. That we are a university that needs to show empathy and compassion. That girls were hurt on our campus. That they are not litigants. That I refuse to listen to the lawyers. I was the first to call for the general counsel's resignation. Matter of fact, 2 of them, both resigned. Third one I fired. I was the first to battle with John Engler. Won legendary battles, one-on-one. Stuff that I probably can't say on this Zoom, that no other Democrat has ever talked to him that way. Everybody else cowered from him. I kicked him out of a meeting once, and it was at that intensity that I sat 3 feet away from him, that I believed so deeply in what I thought. That when you believe and take a position, that nobody was going to get me off my position. Nobody. And that's how this election has to be, because the survivor issue became very personal to me. I drove out to Kalamazoo to meet with Rachel Den Hollander and to meet with survivors against the advice of all of our lawyers. And what I found were very fragile girls that, you know, the stories that I heard became very personal. And, you know, you never want to mix politics and policy and personal together, but this wasn't politics. This became personal to me. And anytime you believe in a position, you got to take it. And so when I called for his resignation and led the charge to remove him, it was a great, great day for me, a great day for the university. And, you know, I'm honored to have their support. I'm honored to seek re-election. I'm the only Arab American on the statewide ballot. I take great pride in that. Take great pride in coming from Fortson, coming from Dearborn, but knowing many Arab communities all over. You know, I got friends all over: Chaldean, Assyrian, West Bloomfield, you know, Livonia, Lansing, Flint. You know, the world doesn't revolve around Dearborn. We are a community that is not homogenous. You know, we come from different sects and religions and nationalities, and we have to recognize that when people look at us, and if they see somebody wearing a hijab, or they see a Chaldean wearing with a beard and a cross, we all look the same to them. And so until we look back at them with the same one eye, you know, we will never be as effective. And that's why it's important. I think my race is so important, because I've been able to unite so many different communities coming together in support of my campaign. And I'm grateful Grateful for the work Hilal has done. Grateful for the work that Alabas Farhat has done. My team is all Arab, every one of them, between me and you. I said we're gonna do it my way. We're gonna do it our way, and we're gonna win with our people. And we're doing very well right now. Alhamdulillah, we're up in the polls. Um, we got a ways to go. We got 5 days to go. We've run a pretty strong digital campaign. We got billboards. We got radio ads. I've been all over the radio, all over the TVs. I called in every favor that I had. We're doing the things I think we need to do to make a difference. Um, Bernie Sanders jumped into my race, a historic endorsement that has never happened before. That my race was recognized on a national level because of the national attention that it drew. But I stayed true to myself. I complimented, publicly Dan Kelly, who's a Republican, because he stayed true to himself and he wanted to do the right thing. I turned down an interview with ESPN Outside the Lines because I was disgusted with the graphic they put of Mark D'Antonio and Tom Izzo. I didn't need my 15 minutes of fame. I had to stay true to what I believed in. And anytime you run a campaign based on principles, and the results will speak for themselves, and they don't matter because these are titles. These titles are fake. We're temporary placeholders. Our juice as a community, it comes from us sticking together, because all of us one day will be on top and we'll have titles, and some won't. And our collective juice, our collective empowerment comes from us sticking together. It's not by who has a title. It's not by who's in power, because we stand together and we stick together, and that's how we make a difference. There is no other way. It's propping each other up. It's helping each other, and it's something that I take great pride in. And it's hard because sometimes you help kids where their parents won't help anybody. Sometimes you help people that they probably wouldn't do the same thing, because you have to look at the big picture. You can't personalize things. So, I'm very grateful to be in this position. You guys are the future. Your generation is the future. You guys got to learn the tribal politics from back home has got to be kept back home. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Sunni or Shia or Dirzi or Chaldean or Assyrian or from Fortson or not from Fortson or from Dearborn or not from Dearborn. It does not matter. Everybody has to stay united. And as long as we stay united, and in the end, we will become a very, very powerful force. So I will open the floor up for questions. And I'm very proud of all the work that you guys are doing. I think it's very important we flex our muscle and we show that we can deliver Michigan, and that we as an Arab community can stick together and do what's right. The president has been very divisive. As we know, he's divided. He's brought out the ugliness in America. He's brought out, we knew the undercurrent, it always existed, but now people are not even shy. They're not shy about it. Think about it. When you see somebody wearing a shirt with an American flag or a hat with an American flag, what do you think? You think Trump. You think racist. He's took the American flag and made it a symbol of racism. That's something that's really bothered me. My dad was a veteran. My dad served in the 82nd Airborne. And he takes great pride in that. So anyway, enough talking about me. Tell me about you. I'll open the floor to questions. Thank you so much for having me. Shoot, fire away.
I think Diana had a question to answer. Diana, go ahead and introduce yourself. Talk about yourself. What do you do on campus? What grade are you in? And then and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Diana. I'm a sophomore in the College of LSA. I'm on a pre-med track, planning on majoring in biohealth and society. I'm in ASA, I'm in LSA. I am a part of a committee, the Arab Leadership Network, trying to help other Arabs on campus get together and, use our voices and everything. And then the question that I wanted to answer was regarding how important it is for us as Arab Americans on campus to be civically, or to be involved in civic engagement and everything. And the reason for that, you, Brian, you pinpointed everything that I was going to say was it's just very important that we stick together, that we use our voices, that we can't overlook the fact that maybe on social media or just think that we're small because and that our voices don't matter. I think it's really important for us to express our concerns and for others to hear us and get involved and join together, because that's the only way that we're ever going to be heard and make real change.
You're absolutely right. We are the swing vote in Michigan. Make no mistake about it. And I applaud you guys because your generation was a lot more active than we were. We were. One thing that I learned over years in politics, there are no turns in politics. All right. There's no kingdom where they're going to anoint somebody. You go out and you take it. You go take it, you pound the rock, stick together, stick to a mission, and you believe in it. And you do what you got to do to make your voices heard. You amplify your voice when it's one voice. You don't let anybody dilute your voice. Don't let anybody divide you. Don't let anybody pull you apart. You know, the one thing we have to learn from the Jewish community that they have done very well is they stick together. They have one voice. When they have a fundraiser, they bundle money. One person delivers it, and there's one ask, and it's coming from that person on behalf of that community. That's very, very powerful. When I went to seek renomination, to get renominated, you know, because I don't know if you guys understand our process. I had to get renominated to get back on the ballot. It doesn't mean you're automatically put on the ballot. And so I faced some major obstacles, right? I was involved in the Nassar scandal, regardless of what positions that I took. And it was amazing how every organization, every Arab leader, every Chaldean, everybody from ACC, everybody spoke with one voice. Brian is our guy. And it was very powerful to see, because there were a lot of people who would sit at the table that didn't get along, that I united them, that they knew that I was their candidate and their guy. And I can't tell you how much that meant, because if you had 4 or 5 other Arab whispering, you know, in the different leaderships here, no this, no that, people waffle. Sometimes Democrats, the toughest part of the Democratic Party are the unions. They're loyal and they stick by you. And they stuck by me, especially the American Federation of Teachers and the UAW. And I'll never forget them for that. And the UAW has been very good if you look historically at our community. A lot of our fathers and grandparents, they made a living working in the fabrika. They raised our families off of that, from the Rouge Steel to Chrysler. And so the UAW has been very good to our community. But yes, engagement is very important. But the number one thing, and I will say this over and over, the number one thing is sticking together. Not who's the president of your association, who's the vice president, who's got more votes, who's going to talk to who's going to get credit for what. Credit's free. You give credit to everybody. We always give credit to everybody. There's nothing wrong with credit. Stick together, come together, and at the end of the day, if you're one voice, you become a very, very powerful voice.
Awesome. Thank you for the answer, Brian. I think Latifa had a question. Latifa, do you want to ask your question first? Introduce yourself, Latifa.
So, hi, my name is Latifa. I go to U of M. I'm a junior. I'm in the College of LSA as well on the pre-med track, studying BCN, which is biopsychology, cognition, neuroscience. So I want to thank you again for being here. I'm also on the board of ASA. I'm the director of our annual cultural show, Arab Expressions. And so I want to ask you about college affordability. I know you have a specific role at MSU, but in general, your thoughts. I know college has been really hard for families to afford, and COVID has already inflicted so much a huge financial burden on families. And what are your thoughts about affordability, and what would you do?
So if anybody comes here and runs on this platform telling you they want to make college more affordable, you laugh at them, okay? Because they can't do squat about it if they don't understand. Once they get in there and understand how complex the organization is, the number one problem we have is that we are 50th out of 50 states in funding higher education. There has been a divestment from a Republican-controlled legislature. We have one of the worst K through 12 systems in the country, and we are 50th out of 50 in funding higher ed. Mississippi gives more money to their colleges than we do. So that's the biggest problem when it comes to affordability. So, you know, I know you guys have that, what is it, that Go Blue initiative for families under, you know, we have something similar as well, a Go Green initiative. But, you know, making it affordable on my end, what I can do, I voted 3 years in a row to freeze tuition. Having a wealth management background, especially in this pandemic environment, which all these universities are in a major financial crisis, it's you know, understanding the organization, it's cost cutting, it's combining. We don't need, you know, 5 HR departments, 5 IT departments, 5 purchasing departments. They all got to be combined. Everything has to be centralized. President doesn't need 22 vice presidents. You go out and you refinance your, you know, your debt, your bonds that you have we just did. We saved 11 million doing that. You know, there's ways, but it's very limited in what universities can do. You know, you guys do something there that nobody else does in the state. 50% of your kids are out of state. 50%, which means they get double the tuition. You know, University of Michigan's generated over $100 million more than we have over the last 7 years in tuition alone, which, you know, to be honest with you, they probably shouldn't get the same amount of tax money that we get because we're 77% in-state kids. But they have more money to play with, and they also have a much larger endowment because they're probably a generation of wealth ahead of us. Half of your students come from out east, come from very wealthy, affluent families. Most of our kids are in-state, middle-income kids that, you know, they're working families. And so making college affordable is a challenge. So on my end, you know, my job is to make sure that there's not waste at the university level. It's making sure that our endowments is invested properly. It's making sure the administration isn't top heavy. And then, you know, voting on freezing tuition. And then making sure that our families that are below the poverty level, I even proposed families that are under 120,000 get a 20% discount in tuition. And then student loans, I think, is the next thing. I think the way you handle student loans is I propose that if you graduate and that you retire and you work, you stay in Michigan, that all the state income tax you pay should go towards your college debt. That way we eliminate the brain drain. There's incentive for our kids, our graduates to stay in the state of Michigan. And the more you earn in state tax, the more we can chop down your student loans. This is a very, very serious problem. You know, you're looking at 1/3 of all student loans are owned by people 60 and older. That means their kids are defaulting. And so they're stuck with this money. It's an $18 billion, it's the next bubble to burst in this economy, student loan debt. So, you know, on my end, those are the things that I can do. But if anybody's going to run on this platform with this buzzword of making tuition affordable, they're lying to you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. I think the next person that had a question is Nadine. Nadine, did you want to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hi. My name is Nadine Samaha. I'm a junior studying biomedical engineering. And the question that I have is, I don't know if you're familiar, a lot of students on campus are with the sexual assault incidents that U of M has had to deal with over the last few years. What can you tell us about like what you've learned with your experience at MSU and with the Larry Nassar case, and like any advice or just like what you think the University of Michigan should implement to proceed with these issues?
So it's funny you say that because a lot of Spartans were calling me and saying they were reveling. They were saying karma, you know, karma's a bitch and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, that's the wrong approach. So I called a few of your regents. I put them in touch with Rachel Dunn Hollander. I put them in touch with a group of survivors. And I said, don't make the same mistakes we made. Be transparent, be accountable, apologize, work with these group of survivors. They want change. They want accountability. They want reform. And so I know that they're in discussion. I know you guys have hired a law firm, and I don't want to get into the politics of your board, but you got about 4 that have really bought in. and 4 that are protecting the institution. And that's all going to come to a head. If you want the truth, your situation is probably worse than ours. When this is all done, people like Bo Schembechler's statue will come down. Probably Don Canham, the AD, his statue will come down. This is COVID took the headlines over the last, 8 months. Michigan got knocked off the front page, but it's a very, very serious thing that they're grappling with. And one thing that they're learning, these things are not time stamped. I mean, I'm sitting in Dearborn, Michigan, and I'm watching TV, and I'm seeing Rachel Den Hollander talk about her incident in 1996, and I'm saying, what do I got to do with this? I was in college at the time. And then you realize the buck stops here. You're the boss, you're the face of the university, and you need to react. So what I did is I put them in touch with survivors, and I hope they're working through things, and I hope they're very transparent, and I hope they issue a report, a public report. And you got to pull that scab off that wound, and you got to say we made mistakes and apologize. And then you have to put the reform in place, things like I recommended. We created the Audit and Risk Committee, which we created the office of the chief compliance officer, who has a dotted reporting line. This chief compliance officer can bypass the president and come to us. We separated the Title IX office from the general counsel's office. We gave the Title IX office a direct reporting line to the board. We realigned our med schools and our health and wellness programs. We added resources to the sexual assault program. We added resources to mental health programs. We added resources to the ombudsperson's office. And we did a lot of those things. Eventually, inshallah, if I'm able to see my reform plan through, that will become the national model for student health and wellness. But it's going to be a long road, and it's going to be a difficult road. And I told them, do not run and hide like our other trustees did. Get up there. I faced everybody. I faced the media. I faced the students. I faced the public. You can't do that. When you're in leadership, you got to take the bullets, and you have to stand up. And in the end, people will respect you for that. I can't tell you the thousands of emails and letters I got over the years. Like, it got to the point where I had so much credibility with the public that Michigan State wouldn't issue a statement without consulting with me. Because if I tweeted opposite of it, nobody would believe it. Because I was viewed as the one that was the most transparent and most honest. They called me to even testify in the president's. She got charged with lying, and I was the only trustee that they called, and I was infuriated. I mean, I just let the AG's office have it. I said, why are you calling me out of the other 8? They said, you are the only one that the public trusts, and you're the only one that we believe will tell us the truth. And I said, great, go say that publicly. They never did, but I mean, leadership is leading. You have to get out in front of it. And I gave them my advice. I've been talking to Mark Bernstein, Jordan Acker. I've been on the phone with a few of them, and we're trying to work through and help you guys out because it's going to get real ugly over there.
Thank you, Brian. I think the next person that's going to ask a question is Mohammed Darwish. Momo is the Vice President of LSA, but go ahead and introduce yourself, Momo.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Darwish, and like Hilal said, I'm the Vice President of the Lebanese Student Association, and I'm currently majoring in computer science and cognitive science. But yeah, just a question I had was, so I know with COVID going on, I know that MSU is currently completely online, but our campus is really struggling with the spike of COVID. Even though there's a lot of different measures that the university has in place, like I know a majority of classes are still online. How are colleges planning to reopen, and like what things do you consider when thinking about reopening?
It's all depends on, can the kids socially distance? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to call you kids, but one thing we learned is that we can put the protocols in place when you come on campus. We can make you wear a mask, take your temperature. We can do all the things. We can do contact tracing. But when the students leave campus, we can't control what they do, which is why we had a huge spike and we went online. it got so bad that the Ingham County health officials came in and quarantined 30 houses, mostly fraternities and sororities, because your generation, not you guys, but your generation is not taking it seriously, because 99.9% of you are asymptomatic. And you know, it's not you that they're worried about. It's your mother, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother. That's what they're worried about. So you guys made a decision to keep the dorms open. Part of it was because, you know, half your kids are out of state and they didn't want to lose that money, I believe. But now you guys are facing similar problems. I read, did they quarantine? They shut the dorms down yet or no? What, a 2-week quarantine? What did I read? Washington County?
They're allowing them to go home, and the Washtenaw County issued a public health order against all U of M students to quarantine for 2 weeks.
And they took your dorm money?
Yeah, they did.
They took your dorm money.
They're
And then,
offering a half refund for anyone who wants to opt out.
you know, the ones that really got hurt are the ones that don't live in the dorms, that signed the lease off campus, right? And, you know, those are the ones that really got hurt. And then you got, so from an institution's point of view, you know, we look at it, we went online, you know, our president's an infectious disease doctor, which is interesting because Schlichel's a medical doctor too. And so I was there when he texted him. You know, they promised to tell each other what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And so we had a meeting and he said, you know, I'm announcing we're going online, and he texted Mark telling him, you know, this is what we're doing. We were very surprised he didn't do the same thing as well. And you guys are really right now, 9 of the 14 counties in which Big Ten schools are at are surging. You saw Wisconsin shut down. They canceled their football game. They got like a 25% positive rate. It's crazy. Wisconsin's nuts. So, you know, 75% of our classes are online anyway. They're MSU professors or TAs or teachers. The degree says MSU. The ones that really get hurt are the ones that need to be in the labs, you know, need to be in research labs, you know, the vet schools, med schools. Some of them are still in labs. But my position is, if you could put in the infrastructure to play football, then you can put in the infrastructure to have our students learn in lab. And don't tell me football is not a decision about money, as much as I love football. You know, now do I believe our president would put students in harm's way? No, I don't. But they didn't create this task force and take every step and measure that they could, because people just love to see football, because it would have financially ruined a lot of schools. You're talking about, you know, $100 million hole blown in the budget. But I don't, you know, the college experience is obviously different, right? It's not why you paid to go. Most of you guys live on campus, or you live in Ann Arbor, right? Are you guys at home now? Or are you guys still on campus?
Some people are, some people aren't. Latifa is at home. I know Momo is back and forth. I don't know about the rest of the people, but
So as an academic institution will tell you, your experience, that's not what we're an academic institution. You know, we're not here to, you know, our focus is to make sure you graduate, you get your degree, and your diploma says University of Michigan, and we did our job. And, you know, others will argue, but we go there for an experience. I mean, we want to socialize. We want to be in a diverse population. We want to interact with, you know, with different cultures and students from all over the world. And because we live in a global economy, right? I mean, how many of you guys are from Dearborn? Yeah, so the world doesn't look like Dearborn. I mean, and the world, you know, the world doesn't look like Detroit. And so it's very important that you get away and live with other football. That's the greatest thing football provided for me, is that I was around African American all day, and, you know, white people and all different cultures and races and nationalities, and but we had a common goal. You know, the name. Nobody cared about what religion you were. Nobody cared about the name on the back of your jersey. Nobody cared about where you came from. They only cared about the front of your jersey. And I think, you know, sports is the great equalizer. Sports transcends race. That if you want the world to act a certain way, look at a football field. You know, because it's what's on the front that counts, and nobody cares about where you came from, which drives me crazy, because we got all these wealthy donors that want to sit and cheer for these kids, but when they want to make a students, I'm sorry, but when they want to make a, you know, when it's their platform and we're going through the social unrest and they want to make a statement, they get upset. You know, that bothers me a lot, because I get a lot of texts from donors saying, if we don't play football, I heard other donors are going to quit giving money. So my response was, are you one of them? And then I'd get a long pause. Well, no, but I might divert my money somewhere else. I said, okay, well, we're gonna try and play football, but are you gonna guarantee them a job when they graduate? Because I don't like the way that 85% of these kids come from impoverished communities, and I have a whole nother belief in that. I believe college players should be paid. They're gonna generate hundreds of millions of dollars. There should be a larger stipend for them. But let me ask you a question, Muhammad. Why is there the Arab Student Union and the Lebanese Student Association?
Well, the ASA is more of an umbrella org, the Arab Student Association, and you have different cultural orgs within the Arab Student Association. And
Why?
personally, I don't know entirely, but I do think it's effective because you build a network and you can explore. You give students these cultural spaces that they can feel comfortable in, and you also give other students that are not in those specific cultural orgs, like for example, someone might not be in the Lebanese Student Association, maybe they're in the I don't know, the Syrian Student Association, and they decide, okay, I'll go to a Lebanese Student Association event, and it's easier to follow along, like what org is putting on which events, and you can go explore those and see maybe that's another organization that I'm interested in investing myself in.
And how many different Arab organizations are there?
I don't know
think
exactly.
we have about 14.
Yeah.
Not all just cultural, but under ASA. And to continue from what Momo was saying, I think it's nice to have those smaller organizations because there's so much diversity in the Arab community that having those different orgs allows them to kind of showcase like how unique they are.
I look at it another
There's
way.
also, there's a lot of,
I'm going to tell you how I really.
there's a lot of,
Go ahead. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, Brian.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, like, there's a ton of people here that are representing like different backgrounds. Like Nuda is a part of the Syrian Student Association. She's also part of EAS, Epsilon Alpha Sigma, like the first Arab sorority on campus. We have people like Maze Al-Bayati, who's representing and is a representative of the Iraqi Student Association. Muhammad from the Lebanese Student Association. We have Ziad, who also works with the medical students on campus. So we have people from all different corners. But go ahead, I wanted to hear your perspective because a lot of people actually ask us this question, why we have these different orgs. But I don't want to hear your perspective.
I don't like it. It's identity politics. It's dividing us. I think that being a part of the Arab sorority, that's different. Okay, I think that's different. Medical association, I think that's different. But I think when we start playing identity politics and I'm Lebanese and I'm Syrian and I'm Egyptian and I'm this and we're dividing ourselves. We're dividing ourselves. And I know we want to celebrate each other's culture, but come on. I mean, we know there are issues that are divisive. And I just think in my heart that divides us, and that, there shouldn't be Lebanese, there shouldn't be Syrian, there shouldn't be Christian, there shouldn't be Muslim, there shouldn't be Chaldean. It should be all together, all one organization. That's how I believe we become effective. Because when you start identifying of what nationality you are, I believe it creates division, it creates identity politics. I believe in one organization at the end of the day, because let me tell you something, Noura, Hamad, Lutfiya or Latifa?
Latifa.
Latifa and Zaina, when John Smith is walking down the street and he looks at each and every one of you, he doesn't know what you are. You're all the same to him. You're all the same. And that's why I don't like us dividing on the other end. We need to all look back at John Smith with one eye, and we're all one. And that's why I have a problem with that. And I think your generation is getting better, right? We're not playing identity politics like the old school, like my parents, depending on what religion and what nationality you are. And I think we do a disservice. We dilute ourselves when we do that. Now, if you guys are harmonious and you get along, but if you're arguing about, Bashar al-Assad and the Shia in Syria and what this group's doing and that group's doing. I mean, you know, we're like marching on one end and marching on the other. We're defeating the whole purpose. I mean, you know, quite frankly. So I mean, this is why I don't like that. I think we all need to be. I like the one umbrella, but listen. I think it's great that you guys are active, and I think at the end of the day, collectively, when it comes to decisions on campus, do you guys primarily agree? Are you guys unified usually on all the issues?
Yeah. So ASA, like we said, is an umbrella, and we empower all those other small orgs together, and we make decisions all together as one. Like you said, like when you gave that example, like with the Jewish community, where there's usually one person that's making those decisions. Me and Nuda are walking into those spaces together, walking into administration, walking to the board of regents, and we're representing everyone. We're one voice, and we're one community. So we support each other. We make the decisions as one, and like you said, like we definitely. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, because like I think being together, staying together, having one voice is really important. And I think when we don't, that's when we start to fail.
When we start identifying as Lebanese or Syrian or Egyptian or Yemeni, you know, I just think that dilutes us. I really do. And I think in the long run, you know, that's not the way to play the game in America. That's not what's going to empower us. It's not. But with that being said, you know, even Dearborn, right? I mean, Dearborn's got its own culture. Fortson's got its own culture. Dearborn is not welcoming to outsiders. Other Arab outside of Dearborn get mad that every time politicians come, they go to Dearborn. It's the center of the Arab world. And you know, there's more Arab outside of Dearborn. They're right. They're right. You know, we have Arab all over the state, very influential, very effective Arab Americans. And so like we got to start thinking that way. That's just my opinion. You know, I've been dealing with the older generation and those that don't want to give up the chair and give up the power. And honestly, I want to see more women in leadership. We do not put enough women in leadership. Women have a hard time gaining traction, you know, in leadership. We have certain women right now in the community that get attacked for just stupid little silly things, while the males can get away and say and do whatever they want. And it's you know, you see it in the African American community. So I'm not saying it's a Arab male chauvinistic thing, but you know, us as a community, like we need more women in leadership positions. Look at the state right now. The state is run by 3 women. They're doing a wonderful job. The AG, the governor, the Secretary of State. They are lockstep and barrel. They're on the same. They are all tied together, and they are making sure this election goes off smoothly, from the legal end, from the protection end, to the voting end, to getting out the vote. So I mean, I would like to see more women in leadership positions.
I kind of have a response to your, I guess, question as to why we have ASA and all the other umbrella orgs. Well, ASA is the umbrella org, all the other orgs under it. There are a lot of people.
I can't see anybody speaking. I'm sorry. Who's speaking?
It's me, Mace.
Let me switch over to Mace here. Oh, I got you. Okay.
Okay.
Al-Bataya, what are you? Let me guess. That's you're Jordanian?
No.
No, Chaldean?
No. You're
Okay,
close though.
I'm gonna stop guessing.
Okay. I am actually Iraqi Muslim. I am the president of the Iraqi Student Association. I think there are a lot of people in the Middle East that don't identify as Arab, which is why it's very difficult for the Arab Student Association to be an umbrella org for many of the people that are living in the Middle East. We have people like Chaldeans, Turkmen, Kurdish people, I think specifically in Iraq, but in the Middle East as well, that their ethnicity isn't technically Arab. So I know many people that have a harder time being a part of the Arab Student Association than they do of the Iraqi Student Association, because their nationality is Iraqi and they were born and raised in Iraq, but their actual ethnicity is not Arab, like per se. And so I think we have these nationality organizations to create safe spaces for those people that may not feel as comfortable being a part of the Arab Student Association.
So you got a good point there. I mean, the Chaldeans don't identify as Arab. The Assyrians don't identify as Arab. Lebanese Christians a lot of times say they're Lebanese, they're not Arab. So I mean, I understand what you're saying. And some of that does make sense. But you're right. You're right in that regard. You know, I just preach unity, unity, unity. You know, and I think it's something that's important. But you make very valid points. Very valid.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Brian, so much for coming. I think a lot of people were really inspired by your words, and we had a lot of people here from all different, from all parts of the auto community at Michigan, specifically U of M's campus. I want to thank you so much. The entire ASA board really appreciates you being here. Did you want to say any last words before people go out on Tuesday and vote?
Look, I take great pride in representing our people. It's but you know, I'm Arab and I'm Muslim, and being being the first statewide elected Muslim in the history of this state, in the country actually, is I take great pride in that, and I take very great pride in being Arab American, because I believe that casts a bigger net, and I think, you know, there has never, and I know you're young and you're going to probably hear this inshallah 20 more times, but there has never been a more important election than this one. This right here, the soul of this country, the moral fiber of this country is at stake. I can't tell you how many Chaldeans came up to me and voted for Trump and right away started deporting Chaldeans. I can't tell you how many Assyrians I talked to have had similar situations. Obviously, you know, we have, you know, Dr. Joe Biden came to Dearborn and said, you know, that the Arab Americans will have a seat at that table. I have that seat. I have that seat for us, and I represent us, and I want to keep that seat. Inshallah, we're going to win. We're going to win. We're running a campaign. Joe Biden's doing very well in Michigan. I'm polling ahead right now. We're going to keep plugging along. I can't thank Hilal enough. I can't thank Al Abbas Farhat enough. My whole team, I'm very proud of the fact that it's Arab. So I thank you guys. I'll tell you what I want to do. Like, I want, inshallah, when we win, I want to Zoom with every Arab that helped me. That's what I want. I want to take a picture, and I want to post it on Twitter and Facebook, and I want to name every name: Hilal, Malak, Hassan, Abbas, Zainab, and I want to say what happens when Hilal, Abbas, Zainab, Ali, Muhammad, Hassan run your campaign. You win. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to make a statement with that. That's very important to me. So thank you very much, and I can't wish you good luck on Saturday. I'm not gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna say I hope nobody gets hurt. And it's election year, so I hope the game ends. I hope the game ends in a tie. And I'll say this one time and mean it, and one time only, and from the bottom of my heart. Come November 3rd, go blue.
Thank you,
All right.
Brian. Thank you.
Thank you,
Nuna, do
guys.
you want to
You
say
guys have a
anything?
great
Thank
evening.
you. I appreciate it.
Take care.